Welcome back to another episode of Don't Quote Us Sports, where bold takes are free, facts are optional, and credibility is still somewhere on the waiver wire. We've got a jam-packed show for you today, so let's get right into it. First up, the New York Knicks drop a bombshell. Thibs is out. Just when we felt like they were turning the corner, are they closing the championship window before it ever really opened? And out west, the Phoenix Suns have made it official. A new coach takes over in the desert. Can he clean up the chaos? Then it's time to hit the ice. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final brought the heat, the hits, and the hype. If that's the tone setter, we might be in for a classic series. Next, the NFL news cycle never sleeps. Aaron Rodgers is officially a Pittsburgh Steeler. How's that shake up the AFC playoff picture? Micah Pearson wants a new deal. Is a holdout looming potentially? Trouble is brewing for some young quarterbacks around the league. And finally, our NFL team preview series rolls into the AFC North today, and we're talking the Cincinnati Bengals. Can Burrow and company bounce back and retake the crown in one of the NFL's toughest divisions?
Laughed and now I can't fall asleep.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you may be. It is Thursday, June 5th. So whether you're here for chaos, cold takes, or curse predictions, you're in the right place. This is Don't Quote Us Sports. I'm your host, Isaiah, joined by his top-tier twosome, the one and only Herb and Big Rob. Fellas, how we doing?
What's up, boys?
What is
Doing
up?
well, man.
fellas?
78 days till I saw this thing earlier. 78 days till college football's back, baby.
Oh, can't wait.
We're ready.
Oh, 78?
Tip of your tongue right there.
90 days till NFL season.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's
3
get
months,
to
baby.
it.
We're back.
God, I can't wait to be
love
just
it. I love
cooking
it.
7-leg dog shit parlays on a Sunday afternoon. Can't wait. I mean,
Sitting on my couch, about 17 Wingstop wings deep. It's about 3:30 p.m. The second round of games are about to start.
and Rob's in full bloat
I'm
on
ready.
the couch. Just
Yeah.
see, and I'm in
I don't
that
know what you
witching
guys are
hour,
talking about.
screaming to God on why only 2 of my 7 legs hit. I don't know how that always happens.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. After the noon games wrap up, it's usually a good little nap time, a little recovery, wake up, fourth quarter of the afternoon games, get ready for Sunday night football. That's the
Oh,
go-to.
that's your move? You
Wait,
sleep
that's my
through
move
the
right
through
there.
the second
Vikings
slate?
always play at noon, bro.
Oh, that's fair. I mean,
Yeah, usually I don't want to watch the San Francisco 49ers or Cowboys every week, so
oh, yeah. CBS has them in chokehold, don't they?
and they do right by the nuts.
Right by the sack.
But guys, right by the sack. But boys,
A gesture looked familiar for you.
let's jump right into it with probably the biggest news that we've had since the last episode. Knicks fire Tom Thibodeau. I don't know if I can speak for all of us, but I think for a majority of people out there, this caught people by surprise, especially after just making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, albeit with Tatum going down, but still getting to where they did, best finish since the 90s, back-to-back 50-win seasons. I'll be honest, it caught me by surprise ever so slightly. I don't know about you guys.
What, and I mean what, an absolute fumble by the New York Knicks to scapegoat Tom Thibodeau. I mean, talk about a dog shit organization that's going to continue to be dog shit for the rest of their days. Haven't been relevant since Ewing. Now they're relevant. Firing the head coach. Oh my God. I'm so angry about this, and I'm not a Knicks fan. It pisses me off so much. The early reports are saying like,
Just when you thought too, James Dolan was starting to like improve a little bit, not being so quick trigger and everything,
it's James Dolan.
out the window.
It's James Dolan.
Yep.
What this told to me, man, I think it puzzles me as well, especially seeing articles that say he was out-coached. I saw multiple articles on that today. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. Also, him and the Knicks have history, right? He was an assistant there the last time they went.
Yeah,
Late 90s, early 2000s.
he was going to games as a kid, driving from
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Were those the
And
mullet days, Rob?
I think, if anything, what this tells
Rob,
me,
were those the mullet days?
those were the mullet
Hell
days, baby.
yeah. Bring it back, Thibs.
Yeah. But yeah, this tells me just like with any coaching, it seems like whatever sport, NBA, NFL, it's such a short leash. I mean, the Nuggets fired their head coach a few weeks before playoffs, right? I think it was April. Playoffs started end of May. It's like my take is there has to be something internal that happened. Something had to happen that I don't know if it was a heated discussion. Maybe they were wrapping up the season and end of year discussions. Something happened. Someone put blame. Someone got fired up. I have no idea because it seems like the players like him, at least to the media. But this one puzzles me, boys. I don't know. I don't like when I don't have a rhyme or reason why something happened.
You talk about
Yeah, I don't know if you had saw that there was an ESPN article that dropped today that kind of dived into it a little bit. And I guess behind the scenes during that Eastern Conference Finals, the writing was kind of on the wall. And the GM was actually having conversations with the top players like Brunson and Cat and the big name guys about what their thoughts were. And the vibe that they were
during the
getting
Eastern
is they
Conference
didn't-
Finals? During the
Yes, during the Eastern
That's the
Conference.
rumor.
Yeah, as they're trying to mount a comeback.
Are you
about
kidding?
whether or not they think Thibs. No, according to this article, and it's essentially the message that they were sending was they didn't think Thibs could lead them to a championship, essentially, and that's on top of already being called out multiple times in the media by I know for sure Mikal Bridges about where he was very open and he's like, we need to play the bench players more, like. That's going to help us offensively, defensively. We can't keep playing these many minutes. And I think there was a couple of instances this year where that happened. But it seems like behind the scenes, the thought is they underperformed, even though they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, they underperformed with the talent that they had and that they brought in. Because you have to remember, they traded, 5-6 first round picks between Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo to bring in Cat and Mikal Bridges. And when you needed them most, they disappeared.
I
remember a couple episodes ago, we looked at that bench. Remember when we pulled their roster up and we looked at that bench and we were like, who is this bench? And you look at OKC, you look at even the Timberwolves, you got some dogs on that bench that come off and can give you big minutes. That's what puzzles me because that's more on the GM than the head coach, right? Building that roster the way he should build it. But you knew who Thibodeau was before you hired him, right? If whether he's with the Timberwolves, the Bull, anywhere, it's been heavily starters. Like he conditions them at practice, he conditions them during the games. That's his style of coaching. So for that to be a scapegoat, it just doesn't seem right to me because it's not like he was going to come in and change his ways. I don't understand that. Especially making the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, a couple games out from a championship, but no one's talking about the lack of defense that Cat played or different
Brunson.
things that happened that's outside of the coach's control, right? I get it getting out coached, and maybe that did happen. But at some point, some of it has to fall. We're not hearing anything fall on the players. It seems like Thibodeau's the scapegoat. No one's talking about. Speaking of, what did we see? Did you guys see that posting that Bleacher Report put out about them at the club, either that night or the next night?
No shit.
And they had a that thing they carry around.
Yeah. The sign.
They had finals 2026 like incoming.
Are you?
They're out
Is that a
partying, having a
fucking
good time,
joke?
and you're like, no, real, 100% real.
If
So no, what my point in that is there's none of the players are like, no one's talking about how Brunson lost in the series or Cat's lack of defense lost in the series. It seems like Dolan pitched it perfectly where Thibodeau's the guy.
so
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Eastern Conference playoffs. Allegedly, and if I remember correctly, there were rumors swirling about is Thibs the guy, and it had everything to do with minutes. And these guys getting beat up over the season and things like that. I think the front office made a decision before the playoffs were even played on what was going to happen at the end of the year. And they never expected this Knicks team to go that far. And so they painted themselves into a corner in that sense. But Isaiah, if what you're saying is true, that the GM was meeting with superstar players on your team in the middle of the conference finals when you're down, there's only one person to blame for the loss in the Eastern Conference, and that's the GM. What a fucking joke of a GM. Jim Dolan, fire him. If that's fucking true, fire him, because that is such.
Well, you can't fire the owner.
No. Jim Dolan, fire the GM. Fire him today.
Gotcha.
If that's true, fire his ass, because that is some unprofessional bullshit. You don't have some rookie head coach out there who struggled through the season. Tom Thibodeau's been doing this probably as long as most of us have been alive. Okay? Tom Thibodeau was not the issue. Did he get out coached at times? Yes. Was his strategy the best? No. But like you said, Rob, this is what Thibs does. He doesn't hide what he does. You hired him. You knew what you were getting. And then the fact that he takes you to your first Eastern Conference Finals in is 25 years? 25 years, I think?
Yeah.
And you fire him?
Yeah, I think it was 2000. 2000 was the last one.
What a fucking joke. Sorry, I'm getting hot. It's so dumb.
I will play devil's advocate, or at least I'll try to, right?
I'm gonna rip you.
I feel like the management's view of this situation is maybe they didn't expect to, they didn't intend to fire him when the postseason started, but then the Boston series happens. Tatum goes down to injury. They didn't think they were going to get past the second round. Now they're past the second round. And instead of having to play the number one Cavs, now they're playing the Pacers, which on paper you think they should be favored in, right? And then they go and absolutely fumble the bag. So I almost feel like it's more so the fact that that performance from that series was so lackluster. And to the points that we're saying here, he was outcoached multiple times. Like, you should never lose a game when you're up 14 with under 3 minutes left. Like, that should be impossible to do. So
is that on Thibs, or is that on Cat's goofy ass running around out there?
I mean, I think it's both. Like, everybody's accountable for that, right? Like, Thibs needs to be better in-game manager. Like, there's definitely things he could have done to get better defense on the three-point line, right? If we take game one, for example. But at the same time, Cat and Brunson actually have to look like they care to play defense at the same time. But I guess what my point is, it almost feels like management feels like this team, the way it's constructed, because they're pretty locked in for at least the next 2 years, I believe, as long as Bridges signs an extension this offseason for a discount.
Which he will.
That I'm hearing. That they have like a 2 to 3 year like solid championship window. And they felt like Thibodeau was not going to be the coach that could lead them to a championship. So they're going to find somebody, a coach that you got 2 to 3 years. You got to make it work, right? Like bringing in somebody. It's kind of like when Golden State fired Mark Jackson after making the playoffs a bunch of years early in Steph's career and then hiring Steve Kerr, right? Like, they were good, but they need somebody to try and get them to that next step. And I feel like we've kind of seen what the peak is with Thibs. He's always going to be a really good regular season coach. He's going to get the most out of his team during that time. But then it's kind of the luck of the draw, you know, when it gets to the playoffs. It's sometimes they run out of gas in the first, second round. Sometimes they kind of catch a couple lucky breaks, and now they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, where you don't quote me, but going back to his previous appearances in the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't feel like he's really even had close series, going back to the Chicago years when he was playing LeBron a bunch of times, you know?
Let's not act like this. I definitely see that point, but let's not act like this isn't a GM dumpster fire because they've made the playoffs the last 3 years. They got knocked out by the Pacers last year, right? And then they got knocked out by the Heat the year before. And all you've done to that roster is you added a guy that has never done it either. You added Cat, and Cat couldn't get them over the hump in Minnesota either. You got rid of Hartenstein, right? They got rid of a center that's, I would say, is probably better than Mitchell Robinson. You tried it with Julius Randle. You brought Cat in. It's not like you brought in a player that's done it before. So if I'm a GM and I'm thinking, okay, I really want to build a championship team up here, why not bring in a guy that's either made the finals, go out and make a splash, get somebody that can be in that locker room? Because right now in that locker room, it's a bunch of guys that want to get there, but there's no one on the team that's been there. So I put it on the players. I didn't like the look of being at the club and all that stuff after. But I think on Thibs, I get how he coaches, but at the end of the day, I still think he's a good enough coach to take a team to a championship. I think it's the players, and I think it's the lack of championship moves that the Knicks have made as far as roster goes. Just that when you get to that bench, back years ago when you added a Danny Green or you added a guy that can hit those big shots, things like that, they're just not making moves that a championship team would do. And that's just kind of you replace the Julius Randle with a Cat, which some would say is kind of a even 50-50. You left DiVincenzo. What is it?
DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo
The Italian
as
stallion,
well, which
baby.
I like him a lot. I like him a lot with Minnesota. So it's like, did you really replace Randall? Is it a downgrade? I don't know, man. I think obviously New York media is hard on everybody, but especially the coach. But it just doesn't sit right with me. It just doesn't. I just don't think that's like if the Heat were to lose, a conference, they just fire. It doesn't make sense to me.
So
I try to put these hypotheticals in my mind on what it could be, and it obviously doesn't make sense no matter how I spin it.
So Thibs is obviously the scapegoat. And the big knock, and we've all said it here already, that he beat it's the minutes for the starters. Okay. But when Thibodeau looks down that bench at what he has left to go out there, what the GM has given him, like you said, it's a bunch of no-name who gives a shit. Sorry, guys, on the Knicks bench, but play better so we know who the hell you are. Even teams like the Nuggets had DeAndre Jordan sitting at the end of the bench. Now, did DeAndre play? No. But that's a veteran leader who's played in a lot of big games and played in a lot of playoff series. So I get the knock on Thibs of the way that he plays his guys. Who else is he going to play? It doesn't make any sense.
It's like you expect. It's like you expect DeLon Wright or whatever, going in a winner go home game 6, playing crunch time minutes in the second half. It's like, if I'm going down with my best players on the court. I don't give a shit,
Yeah. I don't know why I'm so angry about this. Maybe it's I'm thinking about Thibs, coaching for the Bulls, but like this one really pissed me off. I think he deserved at least another year. And listen, if we're sitting here having the same conversation 12 months from now, yeah, fire the guy. Fine. But you finally gave him a formidable starting 5, and he took you to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you sacked the guy. Fuck that, man. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so worked up about it. I hate this move. I hope the Knicks fail for 2 decades because of this.
I feel like you only make a move as drastic as this if you already know who that guy is going to be to replace him, and you're very confident or pretty confident that you will be able to get him, whether that be Mike Malone or Jay Wright or Dan Hurley, all these names that they're throwing out there. I feel like they already have something, at least in their mind, right, that they've worked up where it's like, we're making this move because we know we can get so-and-so, and we think he can get us that championship.
And in my opinion, there's one guy that fits that mold. Rob, I'm going to let you get your take on potentially a new coach in the Knicks. I've got one guy No other name matters. One dude on my list that it's either hire him or you have failed entirely. Sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. My thing, we can give our prediction on that too. But my thing was like when I'm trying to think of him as a coach, and if it's his coaching style, right? As you know, he was Derrick Rose's coach, and a lot of people obviously I don't agree, but think a lot of Derrick Rose injury history had to do with Thibodeau as a coach. And I know Derrick Rose is expressed kind of both sides of the spectrum, but he also went to play for Thibodeau 2 more times with the Bulls and he obviously with the Timberwolves and then the Knicks, right? Both were under Thibodeau. So I think that it takes a special player to respect that kind of coaching, those hard nosed coaches. Like I think Saban's a hard nosed coach that a lot of coaches don't like. He wouldn't let somebody get by with some stuff that some people. Now that's a comparison, but there's obviously ends of the spectrum for that. There's crazy ones throwing chairs, things like that. But this dude, I think he wants the best out of his players, and that's what I've kind of come around on Thibs on is. I think he wants Brunson to go out there and get him 45. He wants him to be, an MVP of the league. Like it's not like. And looking at that, I just looked at that bench again, man, and outside of the two people, outside of the starting five, I had no idea who the other 4 or 5 people are. Literally, couldn't tell you a college, anything. It's not great. So when you're looking down at that bench, like Herb said earlier, what do it's 3 minutes to go in the half. Your starters need a break. You want someone to come in there and give you a decent 2-3 minutes. Do you blame them? Do you want to go down 8-10 points in those 3 minutes? Probably not. It's a tough situation.
What you talking about? DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet. Those are world beaters.
Those
bro.
are the guys I
Those
know.
Are world beaters,
those are the
bro.
ones I know. I don't know the other ones.
6 and 7 and coming off the bench are elite, apparently, according to the dumbass GM in New York. Jeez. Why wouldn't you build? Rob, in your opinion, who's going to be the next head coach of the New York Knickerbockers?
I did look at this earlier, so I kind of cheated when I was looking at ESPN earlier, but I think Mike Malone is favorited, which makes sense because not a lot of people understand why he got fired with the Nuggets. As you mentioned earlier, Isaiah, they wanted a coach that they know can win a ring, and obviously Malone did that with the Nuggets. I would say the most interesting name I've seen out there is Jay Wright. I've seen that bounced around. And also, which is funny enough, which would be hilarious, is Jalen Brunson's dad.
Jesus Christ.
Like he's like fourth or like because the article I read had the odds. You know how there's odds on websites you can bet on this, right? He had at the time the 4th or 5th best odds, right outside of Jay Wright, to be the next coach.
I think the city would burn if that happened.
Are we looking at the NBA's version of the Sanders family all of a sudden? Please no. Nobody wants it. Nobody needs it.
And
one name I will throw out from I have a friend here in North Carolina who's a huge Knicks fan, and he's been blowing me up all day after I told him we were going to be going in on the Knicks during this episode. And he told me that the name that he's hearing the most from like the New York reporters, Jason Kidd, the current Dallas Mavericks head coach.
No chance.
That Knicks fan might be high.
Whatever
he might have been
whatever he's putting in that joint, pass me some because that's some crazy ass shit. No.
He essentially said that Mike Malone, Dan Hurley, and Jay Wright all essentially said no to the job already, and now they're focused in on Jason Kidd, supposedly. Don't shoot the messenger.
Hold on. Jason Kidd has Anthony Davis, has Kyrie, and has Cooper Flag coming in. There is zero chance. Zero. Clip it, Rob. Zero
Plus playing
chance.
for his former team.
There's no way Jason Kidd leaves the situation he has, unless the things with the GM and this whole Luka fallout go. Where the Mavs are imploding and Mark Cuban is buying back into the team. That's the only way and that's not going to happen. There's no way Jason Kidd. Do me a favor, tell your buddy, take that to the bank, see what they give him for it, all right? Because that's crazy talk. Yeah.
The best name outside of Mike Malone, I think the Jay Wright name is interesting, right? Because that was him and
The Nova Boys.
Mikel, and yeah, that was the Nova Boys' college coach. He's never made the jump to the NBA. He coached in college for 20-ish years.
He's also been retired for like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, he hasn't coached anywhere in 3 to 5 years. That name is interesting for me. I think I think the boys would make the locker room probably a little happy. Obviously, not hiring Rick Brunson. You also heard John Calipari, and the mix was also in there as well, which would be interesting because I think he has a good thing going down there in Arkansas. But also Dan Hurley's in the mix too, but I don't see that happening either.
So with
And
Dan
it
Hurley,
would make sense from a Knicks perspective going with Jay Wright, who, at least to my knowledge, would be like the complete opposite of Thibs. He's very much a lover type. Like, he's going to coddle you, and he's going to coddle those players, rather than being harsh on them. And I don't know if that's exactly the move if you're trying to take that next step to a championship. But
listen, that might play.
If you wanted to take the next step,
that might play sitting on some recruit's couch in fucking Poughkeepsie, New York. These are the New York Knicks. Okay, if they hire Jay Wright, they're done. You might as well start trading at superstars now. It's over. Jay Wright has never won a fucking thing in the NBA, while Thibodeau has won damn near everything but the conference final and the NBA championship. Although I'm pretty sure he coached on he was a bench coach on at least one NBA championship team, if I'm not mistaken. If Jay Wright ends up in New York coaching the Knicks, I mean, I'm putting money on the Bulls to win the whole damn thing in the East next year, because that just signals to me that the East is a shithole. It already is, but now that's and I love Jay Wright, what he did in college. Phenomenal college basketball coach. You haven't won a thing in the NBA. You've done nothing in the NBA. Jalen Brunson was half the player he is now when you had him. The NBA, Thibodeau developed that guy. Dallas developed that guy. It's Mike Malone all day. If it's anybody but Mike Malone, you're wrong.
I like Jay Wright, baby. I'm taking the opposite
True,
on this.
that's that.
Give my boy Jay a chance, baby.
I can't wait. You know what? I can't wait for them to hire Jay Wright and win 15 games next year. They're not going to win 15 games.
You act like winning winning championships in NCAA is not easy, brother. It's not the NBA, but it's also not easy.
It's a hell of a lot easier than winning the NBA Finals. Hell of a lot easier. And the Dan Hurley thing, I think
Thibodeau hasn't done that either.
Correct, he hasn't. The Dan Hurley thing, while it gets clicks and people talk about it, I think the whole situation with the Lakers last year and kind of Dan Hurley's comments on that, I don't ever foresee Dan Hurley making the jump to the pros. Plus, if you watch those behind-the-scenes videos of him coaching dudes, and truthfully, and I think a few of us have talked about it at times, but if Dan Hurley talked to me as a grown-ass man that way, whew. So I don't think Dan Hurley's coaching style plays like Thibodeau's coaching style plays in the NBA. Jay Wright, Rob, huh?
Well, let's extinguish Herb's flame here before he gets too hot.
I'm sweating.
Roll over to the other NBA news with our Phoenix Suns correspondent, Big Rob, with us here. Word on the street is you guys now have your new coach. Jordan Ott is the name, a young fella, 40 years old from Pennsylvania. So I guess I'll give you the floor. Is this going to be the guy that leads you to the promised land, or is it kind of a shot in the dark?
So a few days ago, each year, because it seems like the Suns hiring a new coach every year, and that's kind of an inside joke that Urban and I have. But each year I give my prediction on who I think they're going to coach, and kind of like we just did with the Knicks, and I narrowed it down to either assistant at the Cavaliers, with Jordan Ott being one of them. a few days before it, so it didn't catch me by surprise. As far as the research I did into it, it sounded like they had. There's a few articles I read where they had Devin Booker involved, and I don't know how involved but it sounded like they took his thoughts into consideration when considering a head coach. I do like that because I do think Devin Booker is the face of the franchise at the end of the day. And I also like this guy's backstory. What have we seen in the NBA? Most of the time, the NFL is these young bucks getting a shot, either at coordinator positions in the NFL and eventually head coaches. This also streams Eric Spoelstra to me because if we remember, Eric Spoelstra was also a video editor or assistant for the Heat and then worked his way up. So there's kind of reminiscence of me, and he also did that at a really young age. And that's kind of how this guy got his start. And also, I do like that he was worked alongside a video assistant, but worked alongside Tom Izzo up at Michigan State. I think that's a good person to learn under. So everything here, there's some multiple assistant positions that he's had. Nothing really noteworthy outside of the Cavs recently. But as of right now, there's really no red flags. If there's an orange flag or something in the middle, it's the young and the youthfulness of it, and also the lack of experience. Right? We don't know. Same thing when coordinators get hired in the NFL as head coaches. We don't know how they are as head coaches. But for these guys to get considered, also for the Knicks, both of these Cavaliers assistants are in the betting odds for that as well prior to the Suns announcing this. So if the Suns are looking at him and other teams are looking at these guys, there has to be something behind the scenes that's good. So all positive here. I do wish that we would stop doing this. I don't think Frank Vogel. I'm being honest, bro.
No,
I'm not being
I
biased here.
wholeheartedly
I think
agree
it's
with
getting
you.
old.
Because this is what, your
And I've told
fourth or fifth coach in 6 years or something?
it's ever since the finals, it seems like we're just on a rotation, and it's like we get in a win now mode, or we think so. If the coach doesn't do it in the first year, we ship him out. And that's been Frank Vogel, the old Bucks coach that we just let go recently, and then Monty Williams, who went on to coach at the Pistons after that. It's just I don't think it's fair for any coach at any team at any league to give them 1 year. You don't have much control of the roster. They're not the guys you drafted, right? Especially in other sports. And to install a system, it's hard to learn systems, right? You got to give them 2-3 years. I think bare minimum 2-3 years. See if we're trending in the right direction. See if there's, we're gaining traction. Unless you're obviously hiring, a well-known vet coach, but that's what you have to do. And if we're not doing that, then we just every coach has a different system, right? And you're installing that system, and it's a player's first year in their new system every year. How are we going to progress, especially when we're relying on a couple rookies and a couple young guys that come in and get minutes? It's puzzling, but hopefully we're trending in the right direction. We have a young, eager owner that seemingly wants to win.
I think that might be part of the
issue
issue right now, because I'm pretty sure he's owned the team for 4 or 5 years, and he's had at least that many head coaches already.
Yep. And he's done a lot of good things. Like he made the Suns game locally, or you can watch it kind of like it is here, like on CBS. You can watch like the Cubs back in the day, or WGN. He did that down there. He's doing a lot of good things for the franchise and the fandom. Obviously, it doesn't benefit me not being in the Phoenix area, but it seems like all good looks. But this is just like everyone was big when he made the KD move, and when he went out and got Beal at the time, it seemed like okay, well, we're really doing some things out here. We're trying to make moves. Obviously, it's not panning out, so that's when questions starting to rise, right? Do we give Frank Vogel another year or two? Do we give Mike another year or two? It's like, which I do think this defensive system that Mike had this last year wasn't great. I mean, a lot of our guards and our posts finish in the bottom half of their defense, like the defensive statistics, and Booker's one of them. and that's not usually something you expect. So there was something wrong there. It could have been corrected and not led to a firing, sure. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
My thoughts
And I don't have
on
a
Jordan Ott.
Go ahead, Herb.
My thoughts on Jordan Ott are this: good luck. You're gonna need it. You're walking into a financial shit show. I think he's young enough and maybe even naive enough to do something in year one. Nothing crazy like win the whole thing, but be real competitive. And we've talked about the Suns. I think it all starts with KD's got to move, and not that KD's not a huge asset to you guys. You got to rebuild around Book right now in a short, quick little turnaround. Get what you can for him. Go sign some quality veteran players in free agency, and then go compete, man. That's all you can ask out of the Suns right now. So, I mean, yeah, good luck, Jordan Ott. But your finances are fucked. So.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add. The only question I have in the back of my head when thinking of this move is I feel like the Suns are in such a unique position where you have the players where you think you can compete now, but obviously we've seen from this past season that this core probably isn't going to work. But it seems like the owner is trying to force it to work, even though they should start kind of focusing on the future, which it seems like this move is doing that because you're hiring a young up and coming guy that probably can resonate pretty well with the next generation, the younger kids coming up, more so than Kevin Durant, who he's essentially the same age as, right? So I'm wondering if this is more of a long-term play for them, where they know there's going to be a growing pains this year, next year, or essentially until whenever that Beal contract, they can get that off the books, and they're kind of playing the long game with it. That's my 2 cents, or at least the question in the back of my head. It seems like he's kind of in a lose-lose position either way right now.
How long do you guys have Bradley Beal for? Is it 2043 you finally get off that contract or what?
I fucking hope so. I hope it's fucking tomorrow.
It ain't no chance,
It's
brother.
not
Bradley
great.
Beal's gonna be the starting 2 for you. You're gonna have Book running the ball up the court.
Rob, you're gonna have to start a GoFundMe, start getting some money, buy out that contract.
We have next year, and that's
Okay.
it. Player option next year. But to add to Isaiah's point of maybe we're trying to think, maybe pause on the win now mentality and maybe try to build something with this young coach. Devin Booker's only 28 years old. And I know I mentioned that before, but if you truly are believing in this guy, and it seems like what the Suns put out, I've never seen anything negative about the guy. So if that's the guy you're keeping there and you're going to keep building around him, whether it's through youthfulness, there's no rush, right? It's not like we got to win this year, we got to win next year. So if you can take, the next year and a half, 2 years, if you can win now, sure, great, go for it. But if it takes you a year and a half, 2 years to get, move some contracts around, rebuild this roster, maybe go get some young, emerging stars. Booker's 29, 30 years old. He's still, in the middle of his prime. I wouldn't mind that at all. Obviously, I'd love to win now as a fan, but if it's better long term, I wouldn't mind that either, as long as it pans out in the end.
I tell you what, I think they have to be competitive next year. And in year 2 under this guy, they had better make the playoffs with whatever pieces they have. And unfortunately, and Rob, you're not going to want to hear this, and I like Book. I like Book. We've had these conversations. I don't want to sit here and knock Book. But what I am going to say is Devin Booker is not good enough to do it by himself. There has to be another star on that team to help him out.
That might be the hottest take that you've had all
Devin
day.
Booker's nowhere. Devin Booker's nowhere near being good enough to win an NBA championship as a solo superstar on a team. He's not even close. But
also, when's the last time you can say an NBA team won a championship with a single star?
Correct.
There's always a Batman and Robin.
He's not a single star. There's 2 stars right next to him. There's 2 superstars right next to him.
Yes, I think I'm talking in the future.
Yes, you're moving off of both of them, hopefully. Well, then you're going to be sitting there going, okay, give the ball to Book 48 times a game? It can't happen. And in the modern NBA, it doesn't happen.
I also don't – what I would want to do instead of going out and getting an aging star, which I let me make it clear. I truly appreciate Kevin Durant. I don't have a problem with Kevin Durant at all. I think what we paid him, he has produced.
Yes.
The Bradley Beal is the biggest mess up. So when I stress that I don't want to go get another aging star, what I mean is I don't want to go get a big contract and just drop him in and try to win now. If we can bring in a second, maybe another play, like for instance, like a Dalton Connect, if for some reason he's an emerging superstar, which he could be, bringing a guy like that in and let him develop and be a superstar with the Suns. You know what I mean? I think that you can still have superstar talent. I just don't want to go out and get an aging Paul George or an aging Kawhi Leonard because his Clippers days are done. Like I don't want to go down this path again. But I do agree. I think I just misunderstood you. I do agree that you do obviously need to have more than one superstar to win. I just want the right superstar. I don't want a guy that we're monitoring his minutes because he's 35, 36 years old, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you definitely
Yeah,
need
and I
to go
agree. I
back
just
to
don't want
what
you to
got
turn
you to
into
the
Milwaukee.
finals.
I don't want
To
you to
go
be
back
Milwaukee.
to what got you to the finals, you need to pair Book with a young big man where they can run a ton of pick and rolls, and I feel like that is your championship recipe.
We had
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm.
DeAndre Ayton just fucking
Oh.
flaked out.
That's what I'm saying.
He said a good
Number one overall
he said a
pick from
good young
Arizona.
player. Okay, not one of the bigger busts in NBA history.
Yeah, number one overall pick.
Ayton was
We
flirting
tried.
with
We
that,
tried to keep that
Greg
going. Just
Oden
didn't pan
line
out.
for a minute there, man.
Yeah.
Okay, Irby, I'm gonna give you the floor. Talk NHL here for a couple minutes. For those that did not watch at home, we had a thriller in Game 1. Edmonton comes out quick. They scored 9 seconds into that game, and then it was all Florida
Fast.
there for 2 periods. Took a 3-1 lead going into the third, and then the script completely flipped. Edmonton's able to tie the game 3-3, force it to overtime. Florida seems like they got some momentum back. They're controlling overtime for at least the first half of it, if not a little bit longer, until a minute left in that first overtime. McDavid sets up Draisaitl right in the slot. Nice little one-timer, and we got game. Edmonton takes Game 1 on home ice, 1-0. I'll let you get into the more technical details. I didn't watch the game through and through, but from the highlights I saw, it looked like a banger of a game.
It was electric. That barn up in Edmonton was rocking. The playoff hockey is so fun. It's so fun, especially when it gets to the cup. But yeah, you know your assessment, your review of that. Yeah, it felt like Florida's game to lose, and Edmonton said, "Nah, we're just going to go out here and win it." Some of the stories along the way of this thing is Sam Bennett for the Florida Panthers. Okay, Florida Panthers got a lot of big names out there. They got Sam Reinhart, they got Matt Tkachuk, Bobrovsky, obviously in net. Like they've got dudes. Barkov, right? They've got dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Bennett, while those guys might be the superstars, I forgot about Brad Marchand. My apologies, Brad. Go back to Boston. They've got all these names. Sam Bennett is the heart and soul of the Florida Panthers. A lot of people say it's Bob in the net. It's not. It's Sam Bennett. As Sam Bennett goes, the Florida Panthers go. Sam Bennett said, "Hold my beer. I'm gonna get two. I'm gonna get 2 here today, boys." And he went out and got 2. On the flip side, and Rob, I know you are a novice hockey fan, but you've heard the name Connor McDavid, yeah?
That is correct.
That is correct. He's the best hockey player in the world right now. That's a fact. And again, while he might be the superstar, Leon Draisaitl is the heart and soul of the Edmonton Oilers. I know they all look to McDavid. Draisaitl, hold on. Draisaitl between last year's Cup and this year's Game 1 so far has been the difference in their wins. He just has. The dude skates his ass off. He's fun to watch. He's a fan favorite. Obviously, McDavid, right? Obviously. But I think Draisaitl is what really is making that team go right now.
You do realize Draisaitl was one of the bigger reasons why they lost the finals last year because he
That
didn't
as well,
score
yeah.
a goal in 7 games.
That is true. That is true. But I'm telling you, Draisaitl.
McDavid
God,
is
I
the
would-
cog.
He's the name on the posters. Draisaitl's the one scooping coal, keeping the boilers going in the arena. Okay, he's the workhorse out there. He really is. Back to Florida though, a guy like Sam Reinhart, he's been MIA forever now. It feels like.
Isn't he injured or wasn't he injured?
No, he was a goal last night.
Oh, he was. I could have sworn I thought he was injured.
Yeah, and he's a guy that he was tied for 9th in the league in goals. And it's just like, hey, Sammy, where you at, bud? Might want to get involved. In terms of the overall game, Edmonton found big holes in the Florida defense. A lot of people online are saying Bob in the net, it's not what it was last year. No, it absolutely is. The defense is absolute dog water. I watched multiple times where McDavid, again, one of the best puck handlers, one of the best hockey players, just hits him with the going through the zone. I mean, and there's nobody around. You got Marchand looking at the other bench, and there goes McDavid. Get your head on a swivel. Bob can't do it himself. I think he had 42 or 49 saves last night, which is insane. Defense, step up. Now, talking about the whole series, I've been a firm believer in the Florida Panthers to this point. I mistakenly said they were going to three-peat, which I still think they might next year if they can keep this core guys together. Hey, don't quote me on that. My biggest concern, I think Florida's still going to win this whole thing. The experience, the way that they play, they just have to get their head out of their ass. And kind of going back to the Thibodeau thing, right? They are skating Draisaitl and McDavid on average 10 seconds more per shift, which to the everyday listener who doesn't know hockey, that's a big deal. Your average shift length's about 40 to 45 seconds. These guys are both above 50 seconds, almost 55 seconds per shift. I mean, McDavid, I wrote it down here. Hold on. McDavid was on the ice for 31 minutes, and I think he had 4 or 5 2-minute shifts. This is what they did last year. They go down 3-0, so they have to battle back last year. But when we got to Game 7, Draisaitl McDavid's legs were shot. They couldn't skate. I'm worried that that's going to happen again for Edmonton after Game 1, just looking at ice time stats and how hard they're going for that long. I don't know that that is a recipe for success. Obviously, they found success in overtime, but the last thing Edmonton wanted was for that to be a 4-period game, and it ended up being a 4-period game. So yeah, that's my take on Stanley Cup.
I will say I do feel like that game was closer than it should have been. From the replays that I saw, a couple of those goals that Florida ended up scoring, the defense just kind of was not there for Edmonton and kind of left Skinner out to dry. And outside of those couple of goals, he was rock solid. He kept them in that game for the first and second period. So if his defense doesn't hang him out to dry like that, I don't even know if this game is as close as it ended up being. And whether or not that can continue and he can continue to match what Bob's doing for Florida, I think that might be one of the key factors the rest of this series. Because I feel like it's going to be close games from here on out. Unless a team is up by 3+ with, I don't know, 7-10 minutes left in the third, I don't know if there's a lead safe with either of these teams.
I'd agree, and I think this thing's going 7 again. And
I hope so.
I'm
If
so
Edmonton wins, that city may burn to the ground, in all honesty.
They may become the 51st state themselves, just Edmonton. They may say, burn it all down, we'll join the U.S., I guess. But anyway, Rob, I wanted to get you involved, and I again, hockey ain't your forte, and that's all right. But what would you say is the most electric postseason final in professional sports, in your opinion?
Bro, I mean, I'm not speaking. So I've thought of this actually years ago because it was a topic, right? Because that's what the Stanley Cup's kind of known for, but it doesn't necessarily draw the audience, right? Because when you look at like the NFL playoffs or championship or the Super Bowl to obviously the NHL, I'm not going to be able to. I mean, I've heard all good things about NHL, but I can't speak from a fan perspective. But to me, from an eye or looking at it, until it draws a bigger audience, I can't put the NHL up there. And I know you guys might disagree, and others might disagree. And I'm not saying it's the WNBA or anything like that. Obviously, I respect the game and know that it probably is. I'm just clueless to the experience of a Stanley Cup from a fan perspective. So I got to put the Super Bowl, the NFL playoffs. NBA has been weird for me, and I know I mentioned it before. Obviously, we just want good basketball, but some of those NBA playoff runs into the NBA finals, 90s and 2000s were great to watch.
And I think for me, like NHL is up there with, and this, I don't know if you guys are going to agree at all. This might be a hot little take. The World Series is one of the most electric. I think Stanley Cup tops it. And I think both of those are bigger. I shouldn't say bigger. I should say more electric, more exciting, more fun than the Super Bowl. Those series are incredible. Baseball in October and hockey in June, baby. I love it.
And I just like the fact that they're home games, right? And I feel like, especially with hockey, hockey fans may have the most passionate fans out of the 4 professional sports. Like, if you're into hockey, like into hockey, you are all in, and you know everything, and you are diehard type of thing. Especially with those fuckers up in Edmonton, right? Like, they don't got anything else. Like, this is what they live for, So to see that barn during, even on TV, you can feel the energy like coming through. The only thing I can compare it to is maybe like a big time college football game at the Big House or at Penn State, or somewhere in the SEC, right? Because those stadiums hold 100,000 plus. Like, you're going to Virginia Tech, walking in to enter Sandman. Like, if I am the opponent on the sideline, I am quivering, I am shaking, I'm blacking out because I'm so scared right now. But you can't compare the two, because obviously one, you're playing for a championship, the other one is just a regular week 6 game against North Carolina or something. But that's the closest comparison I can make it in terms of passionate fan bases during a sporting event like that. But I have to agree with you, Herb. I think the Stanley Cup final is, in terms of professional sports, the most electric atmosphere. And I feel like the players themselves, there's something different when they're able to hoist that trophy above their heads compared to any of the other teams holding up their trophies. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it, because I feel like it's doing
It's
it.
tradition. There's history. Sports. It's almost like you're touching something holy, or there's something different with Lord Stanley Cup, man. There's just something about it. It just, like, all respect to the Lombardi Trophy, because that's a big deal. It's not sacred like the Stanley Cup is. Maybe it should be. Maybe it could be. But right now, that cup is. That's what it is. It's the aura of that cup is just permeating, and the fact that it's at every game and it's there, like, you're playing for that. So
yeah, I would love to go to the Hall of Fame to see where they have the ribbons that they take off, the completed ones. I feel like that would be so sick. You're going back and looking at the 1945 Canadian team that won it. Like, it's crazy.
Let me ask you this. Let me turn the question on you guys. from obviously a novice fan and not a fan really at all.
Yet.
If all of what you guys are, yeah.
Yet.
If all of what you're saying is true, which I think it definitely could be, why are people not tuning in? And I don't mean that as disrespect, but I mean it as the fans that are, for instance, myself, the fans that are fans of a lot of sports. Why is it not drawing me
So,
in? Is it lack of knowledge of the game, or piggyback off of that? Why are these arenas only holding? Why are we only doing 15? Why is it the Stanley Cup Finals and we have 17,000 people in there?
So I think the easy answer to that, if you look at the 4 professional sports, is basketball, baseball, football. Any person without knowing a thing about that sport can go outside and pick it up and start playing immediately. The same can't be said about hockey. For these dudes that you're seeing in the NHL now, these dudes are learning how to skate almost literally when they come out of the room. Like, they are 2 years old and they have skates and they're learning how to glide around and stuff. So it's almost like you are born into that life. And if you're not born into that life, it's not like you can pick up a pair of skates once you're 12, 15 and be like, okay, now I'm going to go play varsity hockey. Like, no, you're a decade behind these kids now. There's no shot. So it's like, if you're not getting into it at a super young age, you're not going to get into the game from a actual playing perspective. And that just makes it much harder as you grow up. It's like, well, I wasn't really into it when I was younger. What's going to be pulling me into it now as I'm older, right? So that's where my head goes first.
Yeah, and Rob, like you played high school football, and you knew those kids that maybe you were a junior and they were a sophomore and they didn't play freshman year, but they came out because they wanted to be on the football team because it's cool, right? And they can kind of get away with being there and being involved and being a part of the team. That's not a thing in hockey because everybody skates. There's not a lot of I'm sitting on the bench the entire game when it comes to hockey. Everybody skates. You're born into it. You're 100% right, Isaiah. It's almost a family business for some of these folks. So, and truthfully, Rob, I think your love for soccer, while they are not identical in any way, there are similarities in terms of offsides and moving the puck up and things like that I think you could really get behind. I'm excited for the start of next season when we got Rob doing watch parties for NHL regular season games on a Tuesday night, brother. Hell yeah.
He's going to have me up until 1 a.m. watching Anaheim Ducks games.
He's watching the San Jose Sharks get it, baby.
Remember, I was in Vegas a couple weeks back. I almost went to a playoff game because I think the tickets were only, what was it, like $150?
Oh, dude, you missed out. The Knights have one of the best stadium experiences in all of sports, especially for playoff hockey.
Yes.
And when I was texting you that, when I was in Vegas, like looking at tickets, because there was a boxing event that night too, right? Like I forget what it was, Top Rank Boxing or whatever.
Golden Boy or something.
Yeah. And so I was like, I could see that the arena was probably 30 feet from where I was. And I was like, should I go? Should I not? I ended up not going, which is obviously probably something I regret.
I told him to go. I want to make that very clear for everybody involved here. I told him, yes, go.
I was like 150 to watch a sport that I want to enjoy, or can I go take this 150 and hit some blackjack, baby? I'm hitting the blackjack.
But did you win?
No,
did
he went over the roulette table. No, he lost it all every time. He had to take.
There's lots of ups and downs, baby.
He had to take the train back.
It's about the ride, though, not the finish. It's about the ride. I caught a Greyhound on the way back, but we had fun, baby. We had fun.
Had to sell the plane ticket. The last thing I want to talk about hockey is they ran a promo video, and is it Taylor Kitsch? Is that who it is?
Yeah, for Friday Night Lights.
Yeah. Great actor, but I got to knock him a little bit. Rob, you may not know this. And it's very much with players, not so much fans. But because of the aura around the Stanley Cup, like unless you won the cup as a player, you don't touch the cup. It's kind of one of those unwritten rules.
No.
Isaiah, as a fan, Would you touch the cup?
So technically, it only applies to players.
Yep.
Supposedly, like I've had bunch
But
of
I'm talking about in
like,
here. I'm talking about right in here.
oh yeah, I'm for sure touching it. If the Stanley Cup was in front of me, I'm touching it if I get that opportunity because
I don't know
at
if I
being
could.
as unathletic as I am and having I'm never gonna have a better opportunity to touch the Stanley Cup or a championship trophy, so I'm touching it. Um, but that really, I feel like more so should only applies to the players themselves, right? And even now that you mention it, with it being a quote unquote superstition, I saw some TikTok today about it where they went back the last, I don't know, since the turn of the century maybe, and checking to see which teams have touched because you're not supposed to touch the conference championship trophy either. Um,
Yep. Which McDavid
and
has
they
done
went back.
2 years in a row now.
Yep. So they went back and looked at that, and that's only like a 50% hit rate, where if you don't touch it, you end up winning the cup. So it really just comes down to the players. But I think hockey players out of the four professional sports might be some of the most superstitious players in all of professional
I'd put him
sports.
behind baseball, but yeah,
Like there's dudes that have
absolutely.
been wearing the same like compression pants and shorts for years, like a disgustingly long time, just because they can't change it now. Like it's been hardwired into their brain.
Yep.
But yes, to
Hey,
your original
you know
question,
the
I'm for
last
sure
time
fucking touching that trophy.
I couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't do it. I don't know why. I don't. There's just something. It wouldn't sit right with me. And like you put the World Series trophy in front of me, I'm licking the damn thing. All right. I don't know if I could touch the Stanley Cup. There's just something about it. I don't know. Hey, so Edmonton being from Canada, do you know the last time a Canadian team took the cup home back to where it belongs in Canada?
Oh, it was back in
Oh my God! I'll listen. I'll give you brownie points if you can get the year and the team.
okay, I know
Jesus.
the team was not the Leafs, not the Flames. It would have been the Oilers, and the Oilers last time they won it would have been back in shit like 88 or something, 84, 87.
Over two. 1992-93 season, the Montreal Canadiens took a cup home to Montreal.
Damn.
Hasn't been back in Canada since. I mean, it's been there, but it hasn't lived in Canada since. You know what I mean? That's kind of astonishing for Canada's national sport.
Oh, it's
Canada,
got to be a
step it
hit to
up.
morale for sure.
Oh
That's
God.
the only thing they
Can you
got.
imagine if this country ever figures out how to get like high level football and basketball athletes to skate? That'd be incredible.
It's a
Make that happen.
comparison of when the Raptors won the NBA championship. It's like a part of me as a USA
Mm-hmm.
fan kind of died inside. I was like, this
Yep.
this shouldn't be happening.
Yep.
But
So 1992. See if the Oilers can get it done, huh?
yeah. Okay, guys, to our favorite time of the show or segment of the show, anything
Is
NFL
this when the
news.
ladies get here to dance? Oh,
Ooh.
NFL news.
Um, but
My bad.
Jesus.
but we will try and speed run through some of these topics because I think what we all really want to focus on here is the news that just dropped. Literally right
Yup.
as we started
Yup.
filming this podcast, Aaron Rodgers has officially signed a 1-year contract. Last time I checked, I had not seen what the terms of it was or were, but it
Not
is
out yet.
official. He is a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's making his way to Pittsburgh this week. He's going to be there for mandatory training camp, and the saga's over, I guess, and we can all move on with our lives.
Is it though? Is it over?
I think for me, yeah, it's over. I think for me, I think we talked about it last pod, right? It's pretty
We
recent.
did.
So like, I think last pod it was like, yeah, it's done. I mean, you're not working out with DK Metcalf. Basically, the news doesn't move the needle for me. I feel like it was expected. I think it's a lot sooner than I thought it was going to be. It sounds like he's coming in. I think the report was he's coming in next week to sign the deal. We obviously the deal hasn't been released yet, as Herb said, but I'm not surprised, man. I think that we were expecting it because when we were talking about QB openings, I figured up there it just wasn't open. I think him and Tomlin had a respect agreement to a certain degree. Otherwise, the Steelers would have made a little bit different moves. But yeah. One thing I will add, obviously we can speed through these, but I am glad that he didn't go to the Vikings. I didn't want to see another Favre. I was tired of seeing that rhetoric of that than the Vikings. I just go to the Steelers, do what you do. You obviously beat the Steelers in the Super Bowl, so there's something there. But I wish him success. I have no qualms with the AFC at this point.
Well, hey, that makes at least two of us because I sure as hell didn't want him on the Vikings either.
I don't think the Vikings wanted him on the Vikings.
You didn't want a top 10 quarterback in the league?
He is the
Speaking of that, we have
a top 10 quarterback in the league.
He is currently not a top 10 quarterback in the league.
He might not even be a top 20 quarterback in this league at this point.
Do you guys know what NFL stats are?
He is top 15. He is not top 10 in the league right now. Are you going to give us his all-time stats for 21 years?
Name the 15 quarterbacks better than him right now.
That's what we want to do?
Yeah, because I don't think you can do it. I need to go pull up a listing of all the NFL.
But wouldn't you be proving my point, not your point there, big fella?
What do you mean?
Yeah, you're supposed to prove his
point. If you can name 15 players.
If I can't name 15 players better, then that means he's in the top 15. And you just said you don't think I can do it. You're all jacked up over there, huh? You're all crisscross there, brother.
I don't think that.
Do you think Justin Herbert's a top 10 quarterback? Okay.
Easily no. He's 9-10.
Justin Herbert had. Okay. Justin Herbert last year had 23
you ready?
touchdowns.
You ready? Here we go. Mm-hmm. Patrick Mahomes. We can all agree. Joe Burrow.
Okay, hold up. You got to pause on those.
I'm not going to pause on Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen.
They had the same amount of passing touchdowns.
Oh, my God.
This
is the
discourse we need, boys.
Your point being what? How
am I wrong in that? I'm cheering.
How'd that help them win games? Because they had the same amount of touchdowns.
We talked about this. You think the quarterback plays all 22 positions on the field? That doesn't happen. He threw 26 touchdowns, which is top 10 in the league. I don't know what else you can take.
Isaiah's going to throw like Bo Nix at us at 15, and I'm really going to get pissed off.
Yeah.
Okay, are you guys ready? I'm just going to speed run through them.
He's going to put JJ
These are the guys that I would put in front of Aaron Rodgers today.
Please, let's hear how
starting quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford. There's no fucking way you're taking Aaron Rodgers over Matthew Stafford.
No, I'm a little more concerned with you putting Jaden Daniels over Matt Stafford.
I'm just listing them off the way that they're ranked on.
Oh, I thought we were ranking. I was like, God.
No. I'm just listing. I'm just listing.
Fan.
No, I'm just listing. So it's Stafford, Herbert, Goff.
Goff's not better than Rodgers. Goff's not better than Rodgers.
Okay, we'll put that as a debatable. We'll put it as a debatable then. Okay, how's that sound? So we're at 8 right now. Purdy.
You're getting
Jordan
crazy
Love.
over there, Isaiah. I think
Jordan Love.
Is Jordan
Baker Mayfield?
Take a step back and breathe, brother.
Baker Mayfield. I'm talking about right now, today.
Yes.
I am taking Baker Mayfield over a 43-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who is 2 years removed from an Achilles tear.
I think when you're taking into consideration your ranking, you're thinking of the team in the next 7 years. I'm thinking of if I want a quarterback to go out and win me a game today, I'm putting Aaron Rodgers out there.
That's exactly how I posed the fucking question.
But you just talked about him in
No,
3
I didn't.
years. I'm talking about this year.
I don't want Aaron Rodgers, the dude that just tore his Achilles 3 years ago. That's 43 years old.
that finished top 10 in touchdowns and passing yards. I want that to be known,
God.
boys.
If
Pull
you're
up Pro Football Reference and take a look at the
if you're
stats.
ranking your quarterbacks by how many goddamn fucking touchdowns they threw last year, then I don't trust how you rank your quarterbacks.
Well, don't quote him.
What are you ranking it as? Your
Oh
eye
my
test?
God. There's so many other ways to rank.
You doing eye test or what
Dude,
are you doing?
This is fantastic.
There's so many advanced statistics you can look at right now.
Okay. Super Bowl
Oh my
winning
God.
champion. 4-time MVP. Oh, we can't look at those either. Fuck, man. I don't know what to look at.
Okay,
can't.
here's one. Green Bay Packers are playing in a win or go home game. The team as it is right now.
Uh-huh.
Are you putting Love or Rodgers out there, Rob?
Rodgers.
It's so
One game, right?
biased.
We're not doing 6 years
It's
from
so
now.
biased. It
One
hurts.
game. One game.
Have you seen Aaron Rodgers throw the football?
Well, no,
Have you seen Aaron Rodgers throw the football?
Man, if
Rob,
you
I
didn't
also
know,
don't think he's
Aaron
throwing it
Rodgers
like he
has
did
the
5 years
tightest
ago.
fucking spiral I've ever fucking seen. It's the prettiest thing. I come over it when I sleep in bed.
Isaiah.
Whoa!
I just know
pause.
Isaiah didn't watch many Jets games last year.
Did anyone watch many Jets games last year?
I did.
Jets fans didn't watch Jets games.
Market
last
research,
year.
baby.
So, while I think that
Market research.
he is a top 15 quarterback.
So you're saying Aaron
This
Rodgers, the quarterback who led the Jets to the 24th ranked offense last year.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't play all 22 positions.
That
I get what
one, there's
you're saying. I
11.
get
There's
what you're
11
saying.
positions on offense.
But you mentioned them
I'm
winning.
talking. I literally just said
You
the
have to
Jets
play
ranked
defense to win.
24th in the league in total offense. Who led that offense?
Mhm. The quarterback that was top 10 in
Okay,
all of
I
his
can't.
categories.
Herb, take it.
You want him to catch the ball?
I can't. I can't.
So all I have to say is I'm so excited for the NFL season to watch you two try to rip each other's heads off when
Hell
the
yeah.
Packers and the Vikings play each other twice a year. Can't wait. I don't know if our viewers
I'll
can
just
wait.
remember.
We're going to throw you guys into a pit with one rusty
gonna be-
spoon, and whoever comes out on top, that's it. That's the
It's going
decision.
to be tough because I'm going to pull up stats, and it's going to be like we don't use stats. You watch the game, and it's going to be like, damn, man.
Oh my god.
And I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
fuck. I'll be like, he threw for 4 touchdowns, and you're like, yeah, but they lost.
So
Like, fuck.
let me say this about Rodgers and the Steelers situation. I said last time that the Steelers need to quit fucking around. Omar Khan needed to just call Atlanta and see what he could get for Kirk. We all kind of knew or had the idea that handshake agreement between Tomlin and Rodgers was probably already in place. I'll stand by that because at that point, Rodgers was holding the Steelers hostage, whether we want to admit it or not. That's what was happening. I think it's a fine move. I think they're going to go 500. But I am excited for Week 8 when the Steelers play the Packers and Rodgers will have an opportunity to become one of, I think, 4 quarterbacks who have beaten every team in the NFL. Now, he'll have the opportunity. I don't think it's going to be even close. Is
Or
that, Rob,
please
is
tell
that
me
game
that-
in Green Bay or in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh?
I was just gonna ask the same question.
I think it's at Pitt because he plays the Jets. He plays.
Could you imagine the boo birds
Yeah, he
for
plays
Aaron
everybody
Rodgers
next
coming
year.
out of Lambeau? They'd boo him.
Nah,
Didn't they
wouldn't.
boo
They'd
Favre?
boo him.
No, they wouldn't.
Yes.
Favre likes this. Favre sent out dick pics to staff members. All right.
And
Let's take
and
it from
Rodgers is doing
You make it seem
peyote
like-
in the deep forest of Oregon.
Yeah, I was gonna say you make it seem like Rodgers is such a likable guy.
From a
my
Vikings
God.
fan, I can't take your word for it, bro. I gotta ask.
Herb,
somebody
you
else.
think Aaron Rodgers
Well,
is a
he can't-
likable guy?
Probably not. His ex-fiance has some terrible things to say about him. So. He is a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah.
As to the man, I can't
I
necessarily.
don't think Ray
speak to
Lewis
it.
was a likable.
He might have killed
I
some.
mean, Ray Lewis
I
murdered
won't say
somebody.
that.
Supposedly.
Whoa, whoa,
Supposedly.
hey,
Okay,
he was
allegedly,
he was
allegedly,
acquitted.
allegedly.
He was acquitted.
But
Don't-
I'm seeing him on the
please don't
sidelines of
sue us.
games, fucking giving us his insight.
He's a man of God now.
I'm seeing I'm seeing NFL players go 130 miles an hour down the highway, wrecking and playing the next weekend. So
Rob's sitting there saying,
I don't want to talk about the credibility of some of these players.
Rob's saying, what's a little DMT amongst friends? You know what I mean? What's a little DMT?
And I do want to add, before we move on, I do want to add to Isaiah, when you asked the question about the top 10, I took it a different way, and I think it was obvious. I took it as, I think you pitched it as to have as your franchise quarterback. Okay. I took it as if I had 1 year, I would still put Rodgers out.
Nah, I'm done.
So don't clip that and say that I would start my franchise with Rodgers. That would not happen. But if I had 1 game, I have confidence I can put him out there.
Dude, you don't realize that is a crazy tool. I can make you say whatever I want.
Yeah.
That caption is going to be Rob believes in 49-year-old Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Bring him home.
Before we jump to the next topic, you said the move doesn't move, or the signing doesn't move the needle for you. Does it make them a playoff team? Does it move them any closer to being a playoff team? What are your thoughts on that?
So they drafted. Let's think about. So as far as moving the needle, because we were talking about quarterbacks on the move, and I was like, in my head, I already knew that he's working out with DK. In my head, he was already with the Steelers, and it was a matter of when.
Hey, pause. Hold on 1 second. Don't forget, we still have to do the Steelers preview, so don't give too much away now. All right?
No, I'm gonna get. I mean, I think.
Okay,
so let's talk about this. I'll give 2. So as of yesterday, if the uncertainty for the Steelers, you drafted Will Howard. You're bringing in Aaron Rodgers, which, say what you want about him, but his teammates seem to love him. Paired with a Mike Tomlin, who seems like they have a mutual respect for each other somehow, and there's been multiple clips of that. I think the Steelers are in a better spot today than they were yesterday.
Yes.
There's some certainty at quarterback. You can start doing I'm sure they already have. But I think, even if Will Howard isn't your long-term goal, I think if he is and you're letting him learn from Rodgers, great, right? I think that's – and again, I don't know. This is me not knowing the deal, right? I don't know if they gave him $45 million. Then I might change it a little bit.
Could you imagine?
But as far as –
I can't imagine it being more than
as far as right
million.
now. If they bring him in at 12, 15, 18 million and he gets to mentor Will Howard or whatever quarterback's behind him, I don't have an issue with it. He's been working out with DK, it seems like, during the offseason. But obviously I'm not going to give too much away. But that offense is going to look a little bit different than it did last year.
It'll at least look
obviously
capable.
With Najee Harris and George Pickens not there. And also, we have to remember, again, not giving too much away, Arthur Smith, as far as I know, is still the OC up there. And as far as I know, Arthur Smith is not very good at calling
It also doesn't
plays.
help that Arthur Smith loves play action, and Aaron Rodgers can't move anymore. I think I think I looked at the stats. He ran like a staggering low amount of bootlegs and play action plays last season. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that it is factual.
Maybe he needs to get back to it.
I don't know if he can, though. I'm assuming that the reason that they didn't have him doing it is because his Achilles wasn't allowing him to, but whatever.
And even in his prime, he was obviously no Josh Allen, but there were times where he had some legs on him, and it was he can go out and get you 15 in the first down. Obviously, those days are gone. But do I think, we see these teams tracking out these quarterbacks out there, right? These Mason Rudolphs of the world, the Will Levises of the world.
Easy now. Wait, hold on. Why? This isn't a Titans segment. Thank you very much.
The Joe Flacco's of the world, right? Do
Joe
I think
Flacco's elite.
that Aaron Rodgers can go out there? All right. Do I think Aaron Rodgers can go out there and give you a chance to win the game? I think that is correct. Better spot than they were last week. That's my take on the move.
I'll agree. They're going 500 again. Tomlin keeps his 500 streak up.
Okay. Let's speed through these next couple topics. I'll just read through them, and then if you guys have some quick comments on them, let me know. Otherwise, we'll jump into the team preview. First one, Michael Parsons, new deal, a lot going on. Initial reports suggested Parsons would be holding out of training camp, but Parsons has been all over social media saying that while the contract isn't done, he's still preparing and will be on the field the first week of camp. And that's what their new coach reiterated as well. So I do expect that contract to get signed before the season kicks off, similar to the CD and Dak deals last season. But it is something to monitor over the course of the next couple weeks. We've had some reports coming out of camp from different outlets, from different teams with concerns regarding their young quarterbacks. There's one related to the Vikings with concerns with how JJ McCarthy's looked right now, with some people within the building saying they should have kept Sam Darnold or Daniel Jones. Which I don't know how much stock to put into that. It seems like the clips that we're seeing is saying the contrary. He's looked pretty good in the reps that have been released, but you never know at this.
I do have something to add.
Let me get
to
through
that.
this next point, and then I'll bring it back.
Yeah, go ahead.
And then the last one, Anthony Richardson. He missed
Stinks.
how many? He got benched after what, week 6 or something last year.
He quit after week 6.
Yeah.
Remember, he walked off the field.
I think it was his shoulder back then too. It's still his shoulder now. Sounds like he may be missing camp. And if he wasn't behind the 8 ball already, he's definitely behind the 8 ball now. I think we are trending towards Daniel Jones starting week 1 there in Indianapolis. But that's the news. I will turn it over to you guys if you guys have any comments on any of those.
I'll run through it quickly. Micah, I could care less about what's going down there. Obviously, he wants to get paid. A lot of edges got paid. He probably deserves it. He just has to stay healthy. I don't know what Schottenheimer is doing down there. It's a dumpster fire. But as far as the videos, I know we're seeing JJ, and this is me giving credit to the Vikings or any team that has a young quarterback or a young player of any regards. Any video can be put out and make a player look like the best thing since sliced bread or the worst player ever, right? And we've all played sports. We know that, learning offenses, things like that, there's going to be those plays. Daily I'm watching Packers OTA videos, but I'm seeing some flashes of things I like, but I'm not, jotting notes about how this player is. For instance, I've seen Travis Hunter have some routes and some plays that looked absolutely terrible. But what did ESPN and other outlets post? Some dope-ass catch that he had, and all of a sudden, him and Brian Thomas are competing at wide receiver. So, for instance, like JJ, and I've heard some reports of Jalen Milroe, and it's like I don't put too much stock in these things because when a player's learning an offense, or you don't know if that wide receiver went inside and he should have went outside, like – I just don't put a lot of – I think it's fun to watch the videos. It's fun to predict what's going on, but I think it's unfair for a young player, a young quarterback especially, that they get put on put under the lights like that. They get paid to do so, but let the boys learn, let them adapt. Check in with me on JJ after about week 6, and I'll tell you how he's progressing and how he looks. I don't want to know the first week of OTAs. I feel like that's unfortunate, and it's unfair to him as a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I think too often we're putting these 21, 22, 23-year-old kids that have never taken an NFL snap before under this microscope. And JJ's the same way. JJ's never taken an NFL snap, really. I think I said it either on here or to one of you guys I look at JJ like he's a rookie. Because he is. Now he's had a good year to learn. But in terms of going out and executing, he's very much a rookie. We can't get too high or too low on some of these guys. I'm a huge Jackson Dart fan. Jackson Dart went like 5 for 12 today with 2 picks. Who cares? It's practice. See what they do in the game. Give them time to grow and to develop into something. Pay Micah Parsons, Jerry. I know you're not going to. I know you're going to make it a mess in the media. Well, I didn't even know that was in the contract. Of course you didn't, Jerry. Of course you didn't, Jerry. And he's
That's
gonna
not the.
he's gonna screw this up.
So
Go ahead, Rob. He's gonna screw it up.
my question to you guys is, with that Parsons deal, he's holding out to be the highest paid defense or non-quarterback in the league, right? Like he's not.
I think he's still
Yeah,
on
he's
his
not
rookie
going to take
deal, right?
anything less than whatever that number is, right? Which I think is 40 million. That contract that Myles Garrett just signed. Like, there's no way he signs for less than that, right?
I mean, if I like Micah Parsons a lot. I think he's a really great player, and I liked him at Penn State. Do I think he is worth more than Myles Garrett? I if I'm the Cowboys, obviously he wants that. I guess you're paying Dak Prescott $62 million, so it's like you're already overpaying some players. I mean, if you can do it, sure, pay him it. But to me, as far as value wise, it's tough for me to toss $40 million to an edge rusher. But that's just
But
my
you do
take
also
on it.
have to remember that
I understand the NFL's
he
changing.
just turned 26 as well.
Yeah, he just finished his fourth year, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
going into his fifth. He's been pretty healthy this year. I think this last year he missed a few games. But I think I agree with Herb. Pay the man. I mean, my personal opinion of these contracts don't really play a role. He's worth it. An edge rusher is worth it. If that's the going rate, then you got to do it, or else you're going to lose him. I think that's the end result. That's something I've had to come to reality on. If that's the going rate and you don't pay it, someone else will.
Yep.
And that's something that the owner, GM, financial advisor, I don't know, the guy that cleans the locker room, Jerry Jones, has to realize. And if he doesn't, he needs to pass those duties onto someone that does understand it. And it's kind of embarrassing when you have a player that, to Herb's point earlier about knowing the contracts and what's in them and stipulations and all that stuff. Jerry, it's time to pass the torch, man.
Seriously.
And I don't mean as an owner, because maybe it is that time, but it's time to let somebody else, be the face. And I get it's your team and you own it and you got it, sure. But we haven't won anything since the 90s, boys. Whatever's going on here isn't working. I hope Micah gets paid. If the Cowboys don't do it, someone else will.
I do want to give some context. So Micah has 52 and a half sacks through 4 seasons, which ranks 6th in NFL history, with names around him including J.J. Watt, Reggie White, DeMarcus Ware, Dwight Freeney, T.J. Watt, Von Miller. And I think if you were to ask a fan of any of those fan bases, because I'm fairly confident they all signed extensions with the original team that signed them, probably market
big money
setting numbers.
$3 million back then,
yeah,
right? Reggie White probably was on a fucking $4 million deal.
All of them at the drop of a dime would say that was a fabulous move on their part. So I think it would be just really, really, really dumb for the Cowboys not to pay him.
And while I don't think
I will give you a little Go ahead.
I don't think he's going to get Myles Garrett money at all. I don't think he's going to get to 40. But when you look at the contract that Max Crosby signed last year, was a 3-year, $106 million. I think Mike is going to find himself somewhere in there, 35 to 37 million a year on like a 4-year. I could see that being it. I bet you Jerry comes in with, we'll give you 28 million a year. That's going right for a DN, right? No, Jerry, it's 35 plus now. So I think we look at Max Crosby's deal a little bit closer to what Micah will probably get. I mean, Myles Garrett been doing it for a long time. Plus, the Browns overpaid because they had to overpay him.
The only thing I'll add before we move into a team preview, and that's in regards to Micah, is I think maybe the team Micah also played alongside DeMarcus Lawrence the last 4 years, and when that does happen, you can't double team Micah as much, if that makes sense. So like Myles Garrett's doing it kind of He's taking on double teams a lot up there in Cleveland and making it happen. TJ Watt, same. I think having DeMarcus Lawrence there, who's no longer there, I think he's with Seattle now. I think that does. Don't be surprised if you see maybe not as much production, but I still think he's a quality player that needs signed. Although I wouldn't give him the 40.
Okay. One thing I'll say is you're putting a little bit too much respect on DeMarcus Lawrence's name. He hasn't had a double-digit sack season since 2018.
Still DeMarcus Lawrence.
Okay.
Still got to block him.
They really didn't. He 5 sacks, 6.5, 3 sacks, 6 sacks, 4 sacks, 3 sacks.
I mean, he's made the Pro
Okay,
Bowl.
the Pro Bowl does not mean
Pro Bowl
anything in the NFL. It's like a participation trophy.
Okay.
Well, they're playing dodgeball at the Pro Bowl.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Okay, fellas.
Hey, real quick, with the Colts, just give the keys to Daniel Jones, ride that out, figure out what that is. Get Anthony Richardson off your books. Anthony Richardson stinks. He stinks as a teammate. He stinks as a quarterback. He stinks as a football player. Goodbye.
Good day. Okay. Team preview. Cincinnati Bengals. Herb, you did all the research for this. I also don't want to try and pronounce some of the names on this list, so I am going to let you run through it, going through additions, departures, draft, and then we can get into pressing concerns, our thoughts, everything like that.
I might get a little hot during this one. I've got a bone to pick with the Cincinnati Bengals. But I'll start with the preview. Did the name Joseph Osai really scare you off on that one?
Yeah, it did. I had no idea how to even go about that.
Yeah, Joseph Osai. They re-signed him. I threw him under the additions. They re-signed him. They had to re-sign him because of some of their departures. But other ones include Lucas Patrick, a guard coming from the Saints, TJ Slayton, a D tackle from the Packers, and then Oren Burke, who just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. What they're losing, they didn't really lose like a crazy amount. They did lose 2 pretty big names in Sam Hubbard, the defensive end who retired, and Trent Brown, who, Trent's been a right tackle, left tackle in this league for a long, long time. He ended up with the Texans, replacing Laramie Tunsil down there. So those are really the only big time ones. They did lose 2 running backs to free agency, which I'm sure we'll talk about. In the draft. Yes, sir.
Sorry. Are you looking at this on your phone right now?
That I am.
Okay, get off real quick. It's messing with the video quality right now, and I don't want you to drop. I'll go through the rest of it.
I'm not on the internet.
Oh, well, your video's bugged for me right now. So I just want to...
All right, well, go ahead. Take it off with who they drafted.
Yeah, draft. I think interesting first-round pick with where they currently stand. Took Shamar Stewart, the defensive end, with a lot of potential, but not a lot of production on the field. A couple plug-and-play players, I think, in the later rounds. Demetrius Knight, linebacker from South Carolina, and Barrett Carter, linebacker from Clemson specifically. They also did get a guard, Dylan Fairchild from Georgia, who I'm not too familiar with their depth chart right now, but he may be in contention for a starting gig week 1. And then a couple of depth picks, tackle from Miami, and then Taj Brooks, running back from Texas Tech. He'll plug in there to replace Herbert that just, like Herb said, departed to Indianapolis. So all in all, there were a lot of moves to be made here with Cincinnati, but in fairness, I don't know if it was enough considering where they left off at the end of last season and the dumpster fire that season turned out to be. And we all know their biggest concerns are all on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if I really don't think they did enough to address those, especially with the Trey Hendrickson contract situation looming over that entire franchise.
Rob, you want to talk about that contract? I want to talk about their draft in a big way, but please hammer them on these contracts.
mean, first off, I'll throw in my take with it as well. And I know we've been wanting to talk about Trey Hendrickson for a while. Um, it seems he's like eager to want. It's not like he wants out. He's not. He's been at OTAs. He's been on the sidelines. He just wants to get paid. And when you look up this man's stats, it is definitely up there with. If you told me he was Defensive Player of the Year one of those years and didn't tell me anyone else's stats, I wouldn't have been surprised. The dude is putting up 13, 14 plus sacks a year the last few years on average. But he just wants paid, and I know we talked about it in the last segment with Micah Parsons, and this is the year of the pass rusher getting paid. But you just lost Sam Hubbard. You obviously signed. What was it, Shamar Stewart? And both of those, Shamar Stewart's also not participating right now because he doesn't have a contract. So 2 of your potential edge rushers are not participating at this point. You haven't figured it out. I'll say it one way is that I think bad teams, I say it all the time, but I think bad teams make bad decisions. And I think the Bengals are making bad decisions over and over again. It's like you waited 10 years for Jamar Chase to get paid, it feels like, and then you had to pay him more than market. Last year when you watched Bengals football games, what was the question at hand? Defense. Your offense was putting up 30, 35 points a game. They were looking great, but when it came down to the defense, they couldn't stop a light breeze. And what did you go out and do? You went out and got TJ Slayton, who's the old defensive tackle from the Packers. Out of all the moves you could have made, all those free agents that were out there on the defensive side of the ball, that were out there, that are still out there, including Asante Samuel, the lack of moves streams just incompetence for me. Your offseason is supposed to get better, and you have failed to do so in my eyes. The additions don't move it. You are right. I think Lucas Patrick is going to start. I think Fairchild is probably going to start as well. But other than that, there is really lack of starters that have came in this offseason that are really going to move the needle for me. But Herb, that's my take on kind of that. And if you want to take it away, because I know you're pretty passionate about it.
And this is another one of those I don't know why I am. It just pisses me off on how their front office operates. You have one of the best young, brightest stars at both receiver, quarterback, and a big-time upcoming one at running back in Chase Brown, who I think is – I'm not saying he's going to lead the league or anything, but he's going to be a really, really solid back. He's going to be a name that people are going to pay attention to. Came on late last year. You cost yourself tens of millions of dollars putting off the Jamar contract. You cost yourself tens of million dollars putting off the T. Higgins contract. This Hendrickson thing, none of this makes sense. They're doing themselves no favors by having to pay these guys more. We see that every offseason there's a new position that resets the market as a whole. Well, when you wait, when you should have paid Chase and you should have paid T, you could have got him at a steal as we sit right now. But, dude, I don't know what the hesitation is to pay Jamar Chase. I don't know what the hesitation is to pay Trey Hendrickson. It doesn't make any sense. And as for their draft, let's say they do end up having to trade Hendrickson or he sits out. Shamar Stewart remains unsigned, and I'm gonna be real frank about Shamar Stewart. 17 was a reach. Shamar Stewart was a product of an incredible combine with almost zero production in college. 3 sacks in college in 3 years. Maybe it was 3.5. I don't know. But 3 sacks in 3 years. TFLs, he had 12 in 3 years. Oh, he's playing at A&M. It's the SEC. Don't give a damn. You're going 17 overall at 6'5", 6'6", 270 pounds, and you're supposed to be all world. You haven't shown that to us. The rest of their draft did nothing for them. 3 of those guys probably won't even make the damn team. It's crazy to say my favorite pick of theirs in the entire draft was in the 7th round, taking Taj Boyd out of Texas Tech. That's insane. Shamar Stewart, I don't think he's going to work out. And that sucks to say for the Bengals fans listening, but you've done this to yourself. You went out and got a project guy when you needed an elite starter to come in because you knew you were losing edge rushers. Shamar ain't it. And the contract thing with Shamar, I bet you Shamar got all sorts of stuff coming with this contract situation. I don't think it's going to look good for either party. The Bengals, you have such an electric offense. You've rebuilt the O-line in a sense. We got to protect Joe. Then protect Joe. But guess what? You also got to stop the other team from scoring 45 on you. They can't do that right now. Rob, you said their secondary is doo-doo butt cheeks right now. It's not good. I think Asante Samuel Jr. would be a massive upgrade for them. So the Bengals, what were they, 9-8 last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like third in the division. In a tough division too. I mean, you got to go against Lamar twice a year. You have to have defense. They didn't do it for me.
Yeah, and going to your point about Stewart, just looking at some of the defensive players that got picked after him, and I'll run through a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Harmon, D tackle from Oregon, Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia, Maxwell Hairston, cornerback from Kentucky, Jahad Campbell, Alabama linebacker from Alabama, Cleveland picked Schwarzinger from UCLA, the linebacker. Schwarzinger, sorry.
There you are.
Nick Mori, the safety from South Carolina, just to name a few. And the big thing that we keep touching on here is they need plug-and-play players at that position. If you're going to pay as much money to your offensive stars like they have over the course of the last year and a half, you need to find plug-and-play players on rookie deals. And there's 6 names right there that I just listed off that have a much better opportunity to provide value from day one than Shamar Stewart ever could imagine of providing. Stewart might not provide value until the last year of that rookie deal of his for him to finally put all the pieces together. Whereas you have some of these dudes, like
they took a project player when they couldn't afford to take a project.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of phrasing it.
I do have an alternative take to Shamar Stewart, and I do agree with you guys. I think it was a reach. I know I've mentioned it, but I think it was a reach at 17. But one thing I do want to add to that I think a lot of teams, and the only reason I'm familiar with it is because it's kind of how the Packers draft, is they pay a whole hell of a lot of attention to the RAS score, which is that athletic scorecard that the teams are given, like hand size, dash, vertical, broad jump, things like that. RGM and the Packers have been super high on those, and so I'm familiar with when Packers have reached for players, and sometimes it pans out and sometimes it doesn't. Like Lucas Van Ness right now is that for us, right? We drafted him super high in the first round, and he has not done shit for us. But he's super athletic. That's great, and he looks great with his shirt
looks
off.
Good coming off the bus, huh?
Yeah. But I think it is interesting because I think there are more than just – I think that's becoming a theme where these teams are drafting athletic players over tape, which is pros and cons, I guess. You can mold them to what you want and what you need. Because when I looked at his scouting report, because there was – the Packers potentially were maybe going to take him if he fell. And so I was looking at his scouting report, and it did stream that he needs molded and he needs, attention to his hands and things like that, which Trey Hendrickson could definitely help him with. But I'm not out on him yet. I think it is a reach, and it wasn't a good time or place for the Bengals to do that. But I need a couple years to see how this guy's going to cook until I count him out. Because he did perform really well at the Combine as well. I think top 5, top 6 for ends. But again, we all know those workout warriors, right? Those guys that can put a hell of a workout on, but when they get on the field, it's a whole different story. So I'm not out on it yet, but I'm also not in on it, if that makes sense. I'm kind of in the middle, but it definitely wasn't the right time or place um, for you to do it when you have multiple superstars on that roster just waiting to win some championships.
What are
And I tell you,
your? Oh, sorry.
the
Go there.
the Bengals drafted a kid a couple years back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, out of Kansas State, Willis. He was a DN, big kid, 6'4", 6'5", 270. He was an edge rusher, but he was a project. I think they took him in the second round, I want to say, which obviously isn't 17 overall. But boy, does this feel like that situation again, where he's just a freak athlete who turns out can't play football. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. By the way, that came deep out of the bag there, boys. That deep out of the bag on that one. That name.
Watch, the name's going to be completely different.
No, it's Willis out of K-State. Can't remember his first name.
I did want to pose the question to you guys and get your thoughts on the T. Higgins signing. Do you agree with that move, or do you think they should have either A, just let him walk in free agency, or two, trying to trade him and get something in return, whether it be draft picks or potentially a player or two that may be able to come in and play right away?
Irv, you want me to take it, or you want to
I'll take it first. No, you know what? I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Rob. I truly would.
All right.
I thought about it for a second. I want to hear
So
what
T.
Rob has to
Higgins.
say.
So again, T. Higgins, I looked a little bit more into before this because there was a lot of trade talks and talks that the Packers might have been looking for him to add him to the roster. So I looked into him a little bit. While I think the deal he signed, I think for wide receiver 2 is 28, 29 million a year, I think is right around there. The production, I got to look at it from two sides, because obviously I think Joe Burrow had something to say with it, whether he signed off on it or not. I think Joe Burrow had some say in it. So from that angle, if that's how they want to do it and they want him to be the wide receiver 2, I'm cool with it. As far as production goes, he's probably going to get you 900, 1,000, 1,200, and probably 6 to 10 touchdowns a year, give or take. If you think that's worth the 25, 27 million or 28 million, whatever it kind of came out to, but I say you do it. But I also think that would I want the Packers to do that? No. But also I understand that contracts are getting out of hand to a certain degree. I think players deserve all the money in the world. They all deserve it. But also a wide receiver 2 making almost 30 million a year. If you would have asked me that 10 years ago, I would have been like, that's crazy. So that's kind of my take on it.
So let me put this into perspective for you. And I want to hear you both. Who would you rather have, A.J. Brown or T. Higgins?
A.J. Brown.
Give me AJ, baby, the former Titan.
Hell yeah. Love me some A.J. Brown. Their contracts are comparable.
But A.J. Brown signed that contract, 2 or 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
2024. After not this past season, before this past season. Signed a 4-year, $115 million deal.
Shit. Okay.
Sorry, three-year deal contract is what it was. So, I mean, that 3-year, 96, 98, something like that. Something crazy. The fact that and again, it's their own damn fault. I don't think they should have let him walk. They tagged him when I think they should have paid him. But again, they were dicking around with this Jamar contract and the T. Higgins contract. Jamar needs somebody to help him take a little pressure off him, because Jamar is world class. There's no question about it. You need that compliment, and it's got to be a hell of a football player to be doing it. Well, I think T. Higgins can be and probably is that guy. The price tag's crazy, because if they wouldn't have tagged Higgins and they would have signed him, they would have gotten him cheaper than A.J. Brown, and they didn't. That's A.J. Brown all day over T. Higgins, and you're paying him the same damn amount. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think
where
I land on this is to me, it feels like Burrow kind of forced this upon the franchise. Like he didn't really give them a choice in the matter. He was very adamant in the media how essentially they needed to re-sign him. And I feel like they kind of caved into those demands when they really shouldn't have. Yes, T. Higgins is a great player. Yes, he does deserve $28 million. But the fact of the matter is, you have to look where your money's already tied up on that team, right? You have Burrow signed for 55 plus $1 million moving forward. Jamar Chase is now making $35 million a year moving forward. And you just look at last season. The main reason they were sitting at home when it came playoff time was because their defense couldn't stop a goddamn nosebleed. And their choice to address that was to pay their number 2 receiver $28 million. You know how many depth and valuable players you could have signed with $28 million on the defensive side to address.
Could have paid Hendrickson by now.
You for sure could have paid Hendrickson by now, but I think you could have filled a lot of holes on that defense with smart signings for 1 or 2 year contracts for veteran players that can come in day one and play meaningful snaps for that team. And it feels like Burrow first forced that hand on the franchise, and now he has to essentially deal with it, right? I think it's going to be a complete repeat of what happened last year. It might even be worse than last year, depending on how this Hendrickson contract situation plays out. I assume he'll eventually get signed, but that doesn't seem like it's going to come to an end anytime soon. And if anything, their defense got worse.
The last thing I'll add to it is I think that I'm not mad about the deal. I'm mad about the timing of the deal. You have a guy that's currently holding out in Hendrickson that wants to get paid, that's probably making right around, if not less than 27, 28 million a year. He's showed you multiple years that he is a Pro Bowler. He is a AP or Associated Press All-Player. And he's still on the sidelines waiting for a deal to get done. And you're announcing you're a wide receiver 2 getting arguably wide receiver 1 money. I agree. It could have been Burrow being like, hey, you want me to throw 40 touchdowns a year? You're going to have to keep T. Higgins right here, baby. In which I like that Burrow advocated that instead of keep franchising tag players, let's sign them. And I think he's advocated for Hendrickson as well. So I like that out of Burrow. Obviously, he wants his boys to get paid. But I just think the timing. Now, if they would have done Hendrickson, got that done right away, and then, announced the T. Higgins one later on, sure. I would have thought about that whole deal a little bit differently than you having your star defensive player currently sitting out of OTAs because he doesn't have a deal.
And who is also the captain on that defense. And what does this also signal to the younger guys who in a year or two are going to be up on contract who, I just had a great second year. This third year, I'm going to absolutely crush. Why? I'm not going to get paid. The Bengals don't want to pay. Look what they did to Trey. It's crazy to me that defense is going into mini camps, went through OTAs and now going through mini camps without the captain of their defense.
He's essentially your only noteworthy player on that defense.
Yes. He's the only productive player on that defense.
I think the stat I saw was he accounted for over a third of their team's sacks last season. And I believe they finished middle of the pack in terms of sacks as a team. So,
yep,
not great situation to be in if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan.
Not at all. Not at
all. Okay, you guys got any more pressing things or things you want to get off your chest related to the Cincinnati Bengals? Otherwise, we can jump to.
Do we want to give our prediction, or are we going to wait on that one on where they're going to finish?
Don't say where they're finished. You can give an idea of record, and maybe a hot take or something.
Yeah, I think That offense is so good that it can win you games. I don't think once we get after week 10, that defense, as it is right now, is going to hold up. If they're 5-4, 6-3 going into week 10, 8 wins, I hope not. 7 wins, it's going to be very similar to last year, if not a game or two worse. You know what? Give me 7 wins for the Bengals, unfortunately, and Burrow, Jamar are going to have to absolutely carry the entire city of Cincinnati on that one.
I think for me, I do think that offense is going to win them some games, and we all know teams that have done that. That defense is also going to lose them some games. But I do have them finishing similar to last year, and that's 9-8. I could see a 10-7. I don't think Burrow could play any better, right? I mean, he finished like 43-3 or something crazy. But I do think some things would fall their way that didn't fall their way last year. So I have 9-8, 10-7 type season, unless we see, they lock in Hendrickson. Let's say they sign some players, make a trade. As a roster as it sits right now, I'm saying 9-8, 10-7 is my take.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I think the cap for this team is 10 wins, and that's if a lot of things go in their favor throughout the year. I will say I do think they have a pretty good shot, I would say above a 50% shot of making the playoffs, just solely due to the fact that the AFC is pretty weak at the bottom. So you're really duking it out with the Steelers, who I think are going to take a step back this year, Denver, which I think is kind of a mystery right now, Colts, I'm not worried about. Dolphins, not worried about. Jets, not worried about. Jags, not worried about. Pats, not worried about. Browns, not worried about. Titans, not worried about. The only other team potentially is the Raiders, that I think they're obviously going to be a lot better than they were last year. So it's essentially those 4 teams duking it out for 2 playoff spots. So I do think they have a good opportunity to make the playoffs. I don't know if they'll be able to make any noise if they do make the playoffs. But my hot take is I think this offense will lead the league in points scored this season because they'll have to. Their defense is so bad, so ungodly bad. They are going to need to score 30 plus points to feel comfortable.
Every single game.
To even feel like they have a shot of winning that game. So that's kind of my hot take. I think, I also think, and this is because I have him on my dynasty roster, Chase Brown will finish top 5 as a fantasy running back for this upcoming season.
And to be clear, as a fantasy running back, not as a running back total in the NFL.
Fantasy running back, RB5 or better.
Clip it.
Please. For you and me, for my sake.
Clip it. All right. Cincinnati, get your shit together, please. Please, for the sake of the NFL, please. Let Joe Burrow be great. Let Jamar Chase be great.
Is that all we got, folks? And Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Not one thing about Skyline
That's
Chili?
it, baby.
Never had it.
Nope.
Never had Skyline in my life. Been to Cincinnati twice. Never had Skyline.
Tough.
It's a real shame.
Okay. Well,
Real shame.
thank you.
Real quick,
Yeah.
Isaiah. Before, I was wondering if we could change this up a little bit. Kind of just a closing remark from each of us. Just a smooth transition out, and then you can give your big closing. You think we can start doing that? It doesn't have to be anything serious. It can be fun stuff. Just something a little different.
Sure, you want me to start?
Yeah, hit us with something. Give us a little something. It can be sports. It can be life. Give us something good here.
Well, I was meaning to tell you guys before we started the pod. So every Thursday before we film these shows, I get dinner with my wife, Rachel. And today we were treated to this new restaurant we haven't been to before, 131 Main here in good old Mooresville, North Carolina, and I had the best prime rib sandwich I've ever had before in my life. Like, it literally melted in my mouth when I took a bite out of it, and it was just like heaven on two pieces of bread, and it was I'm salivating thinking about it. So I just wanted to let you guys know.
Rob, we didn't get a picture of this life-changing prime rib sandwich. Did you notice that? We didn't get to see any of that.
Yeah, nothing.
Not,
I didn't
not a-
want to
not a-
make you
not a
guys.
tweet, not a snap. Not a
Didn't want to
text.
make you guys jealous before the show, you know? Like, I knew you guys were getting your game faces on, doing your last second preps. Like, I didn't want to ruin the vibes, you know?
Meanwhile, you're shoving prime rib down your gullet. Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Rob, what you got for the people?
Meanwhile, for me, man, all I got going on is the pod, obviously. Playing some Call of Duty with the boys. I think that's been fun. Herb included the last week or two. Getting the boys together, talking smack online and a Discord call like it's 2012 all over again. There's some nostalgia there. I'm enjoying it as an old head as myself. It's just fun to get with the boys, talk some shit, and play some Call of Duty. So I look forward to that, periodically over the next few weeks. And also enjoying while you guys are tuning into the Stanley Cup. I will be rewatching Game 1 here after this of the NBA Finals.
Yep.
And so I'm looking forward to a good finals. So, but other than that, countdown to football is here, baby. We're ready. College football, NCAA is out next month. Excited for that.
Hey, we
to
might
an
not have
extent, 'cause
Rob
it's
on the
not
pod when that
PC.
drops, just so we're aware. Rob might be in a burrito style blanket in a dark hole somewhere, and the only light he's seen for 3 days is the LED TV screen.
Yeah, that and the Enter Sandman blasting through my my
Just
speakers.
getting hyped, surrounded by Coke Zeros, baby.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm ready for summer. I'm ready for football. Bring it on.
Hell
Herb?
yeah. I'm loving this, boys. I'm absolutely having the time of my life. But with my little deal at the end here, I'm going to keep it in sports, but it's something I want to bring to both of your attention and the attention of our viewers, because we had one of the greatest upsets in sporting history happen in the last week, and nobody's talking about it. It's niche.
Hit him with it, Herb. I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going?
I know where you're going.
It's a massive upset.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
a David
versus
Goliath.
the Soviet Union. It's a massive upset that nobody's talking about. Robert, are you familiar with a gentleman by the name of Magnus Carlsen?
Yeah, I watched the chess clips.
Magnus Carlsen, who was 28-0 in the classical chess championships. I mean, this guy been doing it forever. This guy is a celebrity in his sport. He is a prima donna at times, but he is one of the greatest. I mean, he might give Bobby Fischer a run for his money, all right? And here comes 19-year-old, and I'm going to butcher this, but 19-year-old Gukesh Damaraya Reju? I butchered that 7 ways to Sunday. 19-year-old kid comes in and absolutely massacres Magnus Carlsen to hand him his first loss. A 19-year-old, a prodigy. I love it. Magnus got so mad that he slammed his hands down, pieces go flying. Cinema. That's what that is. So I just need to make sure the viewership at home knew about one of the greatest sporting upsets of all time. Clip it.
I think that's it.
And to the viewers that are interested in chess, I think those videos have about 12 views online.
Hell yeah,
so
and I'm all 10, or I'm all 12 of them, baby. I'm all 12.
Well, guys,
I'm locked in. I can't wait for Magnus next
that
one.
is a perfect way to wrap up this today's episode. I want to thank everybody for listening. If you've made it this far, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Tell somebody you know about the pod. if you enjoyed it. And this is Don't Quote Us Sports. We are your hosts, Isaiah, Herb, and Big Rob. We will catch you next week. Peace.
See you on the next one.
See you later, boys.